Favorite exercise on the Isochain? Obviously, it's the single leg deadlift. Everybody does that, right? After being on this crazy isometric adventure for 18 months now, we tend to gravitate towards our favorites. So I came up with 8 exercises that I definitely find myself gravitating toward on any program. Let's get started, and what better way to build a big freaking back than with the row exercise, specifically the low row on the Isochain. So this is the one where you usually see me and my clients on the floor. So I have the spring set up down below in an underhand position. Now when we have the underhand position, we're primarily targeting our biceps and our lat and rhomboids. So when we go ahead and pull, those are the 3 main muscle groups being isolated. Are there minor areas in there? Yes, but those are the 3 majors. When we switch it up and we go for a overhand grip, we're adding the forearm muscle to the workout, which you would think would end up giving us a higher number, but in most cases, not all of them, but in most cases, the number ended up being a little less. And I really think that's because of leverage, but I could be wrong. I have seen fantastic translation with the seated row on the Isochain into the gym. It is so noticeable, especially if we start to adjust our chain link to a higher length. We need to really focus on here. If we could just adjust the chain link, it's not going to be as high of a force as here, but I found myself adjusting the chain link back here because I noticed that my launch phase of a lot of my lifts in the weight room are going up, but I can't finish my row as well. So in order to better finish off my lifting with the row, I want to bring my chain link back here, because when I'm in the weight room, I'm great here, but I start to gas out here and I can't complete it. So I want to get the Isochain here so I can get that strength at this angle. Next one is easily the overhead press. Now, whether it's seated or standing, it doesn't matter, though I prefer seated because I feel like it's a lot easier to get more of the shoulder in there versus like any spinal flex. It's easier to cheat standing than it is sitting. Personal opinion, comment down below if you think otherwise, and it's okay. So I'm getting the gains of when I was bigger at like 190, the same strength, but now I'm 20 pounds less at 172. That's a win right there, personal opinion. But I love what it does to front, lateral, and rear delt. The shoulder press on the Isochain is just fantastic, and I usually prefer to have my hands near the edge of the bar. When I start to bring it closer, it's a little bit more tricep, and it's a little bit too much warp on my wrist. That's how I screwed up my hand during that TikTok months ago. Had stupid form for one. I jerked into it, but I jerked into it at the wrong angle. So remember, even though there's no movement, if we jerk into it, it's like jamming your hand into a brick wall. Something has to give, and it did give. So just be careful about the form. Number 3, the bicep curl, like without a doubt. Now I am starting to really fall in love with the spider curl, but I do still like the bicep curl. The seated one is better in my opinion, but again, that's just my opinion. I really like how isotension, that technique, is helping me to really lock out, tighten up everything, thereby giving us more power to really rip into the bar. And there have been times where I like jump into the 200s, but right now it's like between like 180 and 185, and it took pretty much all year to get from 160 to 180 for me on the curl. I was really trying. Now come on, there's no way I'm making this video without mentioning the belt squat. Belt squat is so freaking good, guys. The explosiveness that I've gained off the belt squat is unparalleled. My launch phase off of any type of push exercise is so freaking noticeable. My dynamic belt squat, 500 pounds, I only weigh 172. So I'm coming down, whether it's wide or neutral, I'm able to come down and explode back up. So the explosion is crazy. I didn't realize how powerful my fast twitch type 2 were getting. So now it's only a matter of the hypertrophy following suit, but it is growing. I'm noticing a growth. Thank God I'm documenting it, or it'll drive me nuts. Loving the belt squat. My quads have never been stronger. Never. Speaking of squats, the Bulgarian split squat, left leg and right leg. If you have not done this exercise yet on the IsoChain, I challenge you to give it a shot sometime this week. It is something you will feel immediately.
Immediately.
Yes, it's absolutely insane the burn that you get off of just a 6 second. Can you imagine holding it for the hypertrophy, holding the endurance? Man, oh my god, that's some mental fortitude for real. But it's another one where we often neglect the importance of unilateral training. And I don't know about you guys, but my legs are usually smoked way more doing lunges than squats. Whether the squats are in the strength rep range, the hypertrophy rep range, or the endurance rep range. I'm talking about weightlifting right now. Way more burn doing lunges than squats. Translated to the IsoChain, way more burnt out doing the split squat than the regular Zercher squat, bell squat, front squat, whatever. Way more burnt out. Maybe you feel different. Comment down below. What's your experience been with the IsoChain split squat or the lunge? Alright, down to the last three. Let's continue on the back end with the seated calf raise. Now, I know that a lot of people don't really enjoy the direct pressure that the bar puts on your quadricep when you're going into the seated calf raise. That's okay. We can still do the seated calf raise by putting the bar in our hand and then have our forearm in contact with the quad and then go into the calf raise. And that way, it's just your forearm that's taking the brunt and your hands are locked in place, so you're still getting the calf raise benefits. That makes sense? If you don't know what I'm talking about, check out this video right here. It's how to do the seated calf raise. Shows us exactly what we need to do. That's another one where the translation has been absolutely fantastic. It's great for really building up the soleus. Now, because I've been practicing primarily strength, I've been almost exclusively strength on the IsoChain since I got it. I've only dabbled with the hypertrophy once or twice, and the reason why is because I get most of that in the weight room, so I don't feel the need to double up. But if there was ever a muscle group that was lacking, I'd start to incorporate the hypertrophy. So I also got a comment, I think it was yesterday or the day before. What exercise really helps strengthen the lower back? Ladies and gentlemen, that is the Romanian deadlift. Straighten those legs out and really go into a deadlift. It's fantastic. It blasts the hamstrings, but more importantly, it strengthens up the spinal erectors. And if you guys have been a NoLimitSquad subscriber for a while, you probably know the issues that I've had with not only my knees in the beginning, which is my legs are just now starting to yeah, that's a whole video by itself, but also my lower back, because I've been having back problems ever since I screwed up a deadlift a couple years ago. So it's been a constant rehab. Definitely in a lot better place now, but utilizing the IsoChain has strengthened my spinal erectors tremendously. So I highly recommend utilizing the RDL. Make sure to straighten out those legs and really get that stretch in the hamstring and spinal erector. It is going to be nothing but good for your body. Which leaves us to the last exercise on this list, and it is the new kid on the block, the freaking abdominal crunch, guys. If there's one thing I always worked on hard, it's my abs. I love abs, guys. I really wanted to know what we could do on the IsoChain that would target the rectus abdominis, specifically the top 4 of the six-pack, directly. And we just couldn't figure it out. It literally took one of my clients doing sit-ups on my bench last week for me to put 2 and 2 together. Sometimes the answer is so simple and it's like, oh, well, abdominal crunch, guys, is so good. We need to be utilizing that exercise in our training. Our core is absolutely everything. It allows us to go into uncharted territory a lot faster when our core is strong versus strengthening up everything else and forgetting this. Remember, everything comes from the center. That is not just something from a movie. It's true. If your core is strong, everything else becomes strong. And when I say core, I don't just mean from the anterior chain position. I also mean the spinal erector too. When we talk about the core, this is going to be a whole other video by itself. Rectus abdominis, lower abs, transverse abdominis, internal oblique, external oblique, and spinal erector. Don't forget, this is also part of your core. Your core is the entire midsection of the body. All of this has to be strong. When we strengthen this up, everything else that you do will get tremendously stronger. You can take that to the bank. Alright guys, but what are your thoughts? What are some of your favorites? Comment down below, share it with the squad, don't be stingy. And if you enjoyed the video, be sure to drop a like, go ahead and comment. It helps the algorithm out so more people see the channel and understand about isometrics and the isochain. And by the way, if you're not yet part of the squad, hit that subscribe button. Come join us, join us, join us. And we'll see you in the next video. Peace.